Great. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming me to that. Thank you for coming here today. Sorry, I've just gotten off work. So I'm very, my brain is mush, but not mush enough that I can't deliver this workshop. Cool. So this is just going to be a session about how to live during Euros. It will be relatively light on debating content, just because there are plenty of other avenues where you can access that. This is more geared around making sure that you literally just don't die. Because I remember the first time I had to do an in-person Euros, I was very much not a novice, but it was quite stressful and it was like an experience that I'll never forget, but not in a good way, and more in a I learned some life lessons through that way. So this is an attempt to help you both know what to expect during Euros, but also prepare for it in advance so that you're not left like scrambling at the last minute and trying to work out what's going on and running around Copenhagen like a headless chicken. And this is also being recorded, so if I say something horrible, it's going to haunt me forever. And also, if any of your friends were unable to make it, they can watch back the footage whenever it gets posted on Irish Debating, the YouTube channel. Um, cool. So, just a quick table of contents about what we're going to talk about. First, an introduction is just like, who am I? Why am I qualified to talk about this? Logistics, which is just like, are you making sure that you can physically get from point A to point B in one place? Physical survival, mental survival, outround survival, all of which are basically what they say on the tin. And then a conclusion, which is spoiler alert, just time for you guys to ask questions. One thing I'll say is if you could hold any questions towards the end, because first of all, I might answer them as I keep talking, but also because sometimes it tends to throw me off. And like, if I get thrown off, not even a PowerPoint can save me. Um, I was very big into the nonverbal POIs back in my day. Cool. So, first introduction. Who am I? My name's Daniela, as indicated by the little name at the bottom of my Zoom screen, and also the other Zoom screen from the presentation. Um, I have been debating, or had been debating between the years 2016 and 2024, and in that time went to two in-person majors, one of which went really, really badly, and one of which went very, very well. And I'm a big believer in mentally, physically, and just like generally preparing yourself for Euros. Specifically because there's a lot of things that you can do at like 2-day competitions that are in person that you can't really get away with doing when the competition is like 5 days long and there are way more people and you have a lot more free time on your hands. So overall, like a lot of this advice would still be applicable to in-person competitions that are a weekend long, but quite a lot of it will be tailored to majors and getting through those because they're a different beast entirely. So, first of all, on the logistics segment, this might come across as a little bit patronizing if you have been to a in-person Euros before, or if you have if you're just someone who has their shit together in general. The idea behind this is more to serve as a resource for the wider Irish debating community and tell people things that they might not have thought about. Because I've seen people, even people who have been to multiple majors, or people who are like people who you would assume would not make these mistakes, not in a call out way, just in like a this is a stressful experience and you've got a lot going on way. Especially because a lot of people are also doing lots of things over the summer, like working their jobs or like hanging out with their friends and family or going on vacations. So, number one is fill out your forms and fill them out by the due date. I have not checked the Euros Facebook page much, but I know that these deadlines exist. You have an ESL status form. Euros is different from most like 2-day competitions in that you have to apply specifically for ESL status to be eligible for the ESL break. And then you have to give some detail about like what language you did your primary, secondary, tertiary education in, like how often you use English in your day-to-day life, so on and so forth, in order to qualify. Then what they'll do is they'll have the language team, which are a bunch of debaters who are just appointed language officer. These guys will then assess your application and call you in for an interview where they'll just be like, "Are you ESL?" The Not in a mean way, just to make sure that people aren't scamming in order to get into a break that um, is sometimes on lower points, but not always. ESL break is quite competitive. Um, Secondarily, there is a tech exemption form. The due date for this one is not out yet, but it will be forthcoming. I was in touch with with one of the equity officers about this a minute ago, but there is a tech exemption form that you have to fill out. If you use a laptop, a tablet, a phone, or like any device that was not around 50 years ago, to that can also connect to the internet in order to like type or take notes during the debate, you have to secure formal exemption and show proof that you need this. You can't have your case file electronically if you like if you have an electronic case file, you have to print that out. You also generally can't connect to the internet during rounds. So if you're someone who types on their laptop and talks to their partner like on Google Notes while you're like typing away, that's also something you should probably sort out and like stop doing because I'm pretty sure that's not allowed. But yeah, the tech exemption form will usually ask for one of two documents, either a document that says that you have like a genuine accessibility need that merits you utilizing technology, or a document from your university saying that you need like that you have this specific accommodation and it is held up and recognized by the university um, for exam season or just for your day-to-day life in your classes. I think in Trinity they're called lens reports. I don't know if these exist elsewhere. I don't know what's happening in UCD. Sorry. The next thing is a clash form. The clash form is a form that, if you're a novice, you probably don't have enough history that you should be filling one of these out, but just fill it out anyway. Like, take a look at it anyways and take a look at who's judging the competition just in case. There are some people that you cannot either judge or be judged by, including but not limited to past or present romantic relationships, people with whom you've had serious equity issues or disputes, or like major interpersonal issues, people who have coached you in the past or are currently coaching you. This is a non-exhaustive list. If you have any doubts about this, contact the equity officers and chat to them about whether or not you think something is a clash. Um, the clash form notably does not apply between teams. The clash form is like purely between judges or between judges and teams. And then make sure that you submit this by the deadline because they also send out interview requests where they chat to you and are like, "Hey, are you sure you need to clash this person?" Not in a this isn't done in a way to like antagonize anyone or on the assumption that anyone is submitting clashes that are not serious. It's just because sometimes people don't know what the clash form is supposed to be doing because they're relatively new to debating and fill out clashes mistakenly, or because sometimes people, rarely, but sometimes people do abuse the clash form and try and clash people who they think are not good judges, which you are not allowed to do. And like, you should fill out this form. Oh, you shouldn't fill out this form for that. Um, but the equity officers will just hold interviews to make sure that the clashes are legit because if there are too many clashes, the competition becomes very, very difficult to run. Um, and then finally, there are access needs. This is next. The access needs form covers anything that would impede your ability to just debate normally. So if a room is not on the ground floor and you're physically unable to access it, this would be something that's covered under the access needs form. If there's an echo in the room and you can't like process sound as a consequence of that, this is also something that would be covered under the access needs form. Um, Again, don't know when the deadline is for this, but this is something that you should get in, um, something that you should turn in as soon as possible. And also, once again, if you have any questions, like do reach out to the equity officers and ask because you might not know what, like if you have an accessibility issue that has impeded your ability to participate in debates in the past, you may not know the full range of options that the equity team at Copenhagen can, or at any other Euros for people who are watching this in the future, can do for you. So get in touch with them and say like, hey, I have this thing. What can you do to help me? What are my options? Um, that is what they're there for. If you, because like I can't come up with every single possible case for access that would require some amount of access, but like I'm sure there's plenty that I'm not thinking about. All of these can be found on the Facebook page for Copenhagen, as well as uh, like I'm sure people will send them to you if they think that you need to fill these out. Travel. This is a big one because I have seen a lot of people, and I've also made this mistake, just not book travel on time. And every year, a bunch of novices are always really freaked out because they're like, "Oh my God, it costs a bajillion dollars or euros to get from point A to point B." Um, so important notes about travel. First of all, before you've booked travel, make sure that you have booked time off work because this can affect how early you can leave, what day you have to leave, so on and so forth. If you haven't booked time off work, soft launch a sick day before you're set to get your flight. Um, like, I don't know, sniffle, don't wear makeup, anything you need to do to make it believable that you are sick the next day. Um, then book travel to and from well in advance. I checked flights earlier today and they're hovering around 300 euro. So you should book those if you haven't. Um, Sometimes people will wait to book flights because they need to get money. I would genuinely recommend seeing if someone can spot you a few hundred, because the prices will only go up and you might lose more than you want to if you wait longer than like basically don't do this the night before, don't do this a week before, um, because you may have to wind up getting a layover that's like 24 hours. Speaking of, if at all possible, avoid any transit option that takes longer than 8 hours or involves you getting on a red eye. Just because like it's miserable. And then for the rest of the competition, you will be tired out. You don't want to have to be sleeping in an airport. That could be quite stressful, and you often don't sleep. Um, like you don't want to do 9 rounds of debating after you've just pulled an all-nighter in an airport on the way over. Even if you think you are really hardcore, I promise you, it's not worth it. Unless you genuinely have no other option and have no, like, are under some financial constraint that means you cannot do this, in which case, like, go for it. While you are in Copenhagen, the competition will, according to my sources being Rob, provide you with free public transportation passes. There's a website that I found called www.journeyplanner.dk, which will help you plan your journey through the city. Try not to take a taxi if you can avoid it. I have done extensive research, by which I mean I have gone on the Copenhagen subreddit, and it says that the taxi situation is not very good. If you need to take a taxi, the better taxi option is called Taxa 4x35. Apparently, the other apps are really, really bad. The Copenhagen or Com will presumably have a document that they release closer to Euros that is like Copenhagen specific survival tips. So do read this. It might provide advice that is contrary to anything that I'm saying, and follow that. Don't listen to what I'm saying because my sources are just like people on the internet talking. Um, Whereas they will know a lot more about this, but this is like if they don't do that, or if they do that, but it doesn't cover the questions that you have asked. I have done 15 minutes of research. um, and then have cash on hand just in case for taxis. I have also Googled this and found out that cash is used in less than 8% of transactions in Denmark, but just in case you like run into the world's grumpiest taxi driver or like there's some technical failure, you don't want to be caught out without having any cash on you. What to bring? This is a non-exhaustive packing list. Obviously, there are plenty of other things that you would need to bring. I would hope that you would not show up like, I don't know, without a backpack. That would be really stupid. Bring krone, kroner. I don't know how to pronounce this. I'm not Danish. Go to the post office or to the bank well in advance because the exchange rates at the airport tend to be quite bad, given that they know you have no other option. Bring an emergency kit. The emergency kit should contain the following, or it should if you are um, kind of paranoid and terrified of getting sick. Paracetamol, ibuprofen, multivitamins, throat lozenges, Sudocrem, antacids, Imodium, any prescriptions you have. Toiletries like deodorant, tampons or pads, soap, ignore tampons or pads if you don't use those. Scissors, safety pins, a sewing kit, and an extra roll of toilet paper. You can get the extra roll of toilet paper at the hotel. You should bring your emergency kit with you every single day and like genuinely trust me on the toilet paper. Every major that I've been to in person, they always run out of toilet paper in the afternoon by at least day two. Um, and it's it's icky. It's so gross. Like you don't want to be in that situation. So bring toilet paper that you have that is your personal toilet paper. Um, because you really don't want to be caught in a situation where you don't have that. Um, because like it's the summer, a lot of debaters are there. They're all drinking lots and lots of water, and as a consequence, using the restroom every 5 minutes. Um, and it runs out really quickly. At least it does in the girls' bathroom. I don't know if boys do. Then bring appropriate clothing. This is a this is going to encompass lots of different things. The first thing is look up the weather in the city where you're going to be competing, which in this case is Copenhagen, and plan accordingly. So if it says that it's going to be warm, bring clothing that is not going to heat you up unnecessarily. If it says that it's going to be cold, bring a jacket. It is probably not going to be super cold in the summer, but maybe bring like one just in case. Pack a different outfit for each day, especially if it is warm, but especially if you will be sweating. Do not subject your partner to body odor without like unnecessarily. Make sure that you can sit down on the floor comfortably and without exposing yourself because you will have to do that every single prep time. So if you have lots of like fun, tight little summer outfits, or if your summer outfits are like really short, maybe don't bring those to Euros, because you will sit down on the floor a lot. And the last thing you want to do is accidentally flash someone. Um, I would like, again, I don't know about boys because I am not a boy. Um, and they seem to just do t-shirts and shorts. But if you're a girl, I would recommend like longer skirts that are kind of flowy because they provide a lot of airflow and are also not going to like flash you if you sit down. Um, Shorts or loose pants that are sit downable in. If it is especially warm, I would recommend getting pairs of like anti-chafing shorts. Those saved my life in the Balkans twice. I know they do like they'll sell them in like M&S or Pennies or something like that. And also they come with the added benefit of if you are wearing a shorter skirt, you will not flash anyone because there will be shorts on underneath. Make sure that you also can sit down on the floor comfortably. Like if something is really, really tight and you are trying to sit down on the floor, you don't want to waste like 30 seconds of prep time trying to like get onto the ground because you are never guaranteed to have a desk unless you're an opening government, but you will realistically get opening government like twice. Um, Make sure that your shoes are comfortable because you will be walking around often. If you buy new shoes for Euros, buy them early and break them in because you will walk around so much around the venue. And then also speaking of footwear, there is normally a football tournament on one of the nights. If this is something that you're interested in, bring shoes that you can run around in, bring athletic gear, and don't wear it after the sports match, which I've seen people do, and it's disgusting. Um, and yeah, be ready to play football to your heart's content. Usually everyone's on different teams for like every country. It's really fun. And then the day of the final, I have seen people wear anything from like Cinderella ass ball gowns to a literal t-shirt and flip-flops. Bring a gown or a suit if that's the sort of thing that you do, but like generally people tend to average out to like nice sundresses and button-up shirts and pants. So don't feel any pressure to overdress for that. Um, I'd recommend dressing nicely. It's a party, but like if you also want to wear a t-shirt and flip-flops, go for it. People wear anything to this event. It is so crazy. The dress code is just the dress code is literally one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Um, well, that's an exaggeration, but you know what I mean. Then bring double the amount of supplies that you would need for a regular weekend competition, maybe a little bit more than that, because you and your partner could potentially debate more than 11 rounds. This number probably increases if you're eligible for the ESL break. Bring double the amount of pens that you would normally bring to a competition, especially if you're the type of debater who needs like a certain type of pen, a certain type of paper, I don't know, like a lucky eraser to function, because 9 rounds of debating is going to burn through one refill pad so quickly. Bring like stock up is what I'm saying here. You don't want to get to a late round or to an out round and have to adjust your note taking style because you are stuck with like a chewed up pencil that someone on the contingent gave to you. And then in a, in a similar vein, get a portable charger and get an adapter, especially if you're the sort of person who uses a device to take notes. Make sure that you charge a portable charger up every night at the hotel. Um, if the outlets are going to be different, which, according to my extensive research on what happens in Denmark, they are, bring enough adapters that you're able to charge all of your devices, or at least as many of your devices as possible. If you use your phone as a timer, sorry, now that I'm thinking about this, if you use your phone as a timer, set the auto lock to turn off as late as possible so that you don't have to unlock your phone in the middle of a speech. Um, sorry, I just thought I'd say that now that we're on the subject of technology. And then also, if you need to charge your phone, I would do so during the deliberation. Like usually if you just like put your phone to charge in the classroom that you're in and say, before you like walk out for the judges to start deliberating and say like, hey, can I charge my phone? Um, the judges will let you leave your phone there because a full day of debating will eat up your phone battery quite quickly. And there are often not a lot of phone like outlets in the venues because you have a bajillion people who are all trying to charge their phones in the same room. Um, so yeah, that's the packing list. Non-exhaustive. Bring like a backpack. Bring, I don't know, other stuff that you might need. This is not an exhaustive list. Physical survival. Get 8 or more hours of sleep every single night. In my opinion, this is a non-negotiable. You cannot function on less than that. It's especially relevant if you're in a time zone that is not GMT, British summertime. I don't know which one we're in. Um, but if there's any time zone difference, you want to be getting 8 or more hours of sleep at night. Rooms will have 4 to 6 people. If you are able to do this, I would choose your roommates wisely and have a conversation about the expectations that you guys have for like when people will be getting back to the room well in advance. So if you're a light sleeper and you want to do well, and one of your friends on the contingent is like 365 party girl, maybe just a thought, maybe like don't room with her. Um, and also talk to your roommates in advance about how bedtime changes if you are bringing people back to the room. Because even if neither of you plan on bringing people back to the room, you never know what could happen. And that's not a conversation that you want to be having while one of you is in the middle of fade to black, you know. So that's really awkward. But yeah, chat about that. Eat consistently and eat well. As soon as you get to the hotel, find your nearest supermarket and do a food shop to make sure that you have everything you need. I have included a non-exhaustive list of supermarkets in Copenhagen. My sources, once again, are the Copenhagen subreddit. Uh, the food at majors is usually not great because they have to make a lot of it and they have to make a lot of it quickly and it has to last sort of long. So you will sometimes wind up with chicken and rice every day, like they had at Zagreb Euros, which was really dismal. Even if you're not someone who considers themselves a picky eater, you do want to have some snacks that you can nibble on between rounds or a consistent source of food that does not go to the shop next door because sometimes those shops will like run out of stock quite quickly or have very long lines. This is also a good opportunity to buy anything that you forgot to pack because like most people in my experience forget at least like two things. Like I didn't bring a toothbrush one year and had to go buy one, which was really embarrassing. Um, if you find a restaurant that you like that serves good food, make a note of it and go there after every day of rounds because this minimizes the amount of choices you have to make every day. More on this later. Um, Speaking from experience, one year I found a hidden culinary gem and told no one it existed because I wanted my food to be served to me in 10 minutes and I also didn't want to talk to people after rounds. So sorry to everyone who's at Black Sea Euros, you guys really missed out. Um, And then make sure that you're eating well as well. It's really easy to stress eat a lot of junk food, but do buy and actually eat some fruits and vegetables, especially because a lot of the times the pre-prepared meals will not include them. Bananas are a very good option for breakfast because they fill you up quickly, they come packaged, and they're a good source of fiber and electrolytes. Bring a plastic Tupperware container along from home so that you can bring fruits that do not come with a peel, like grapes or strawberries, to the venue. I learned this after just having to cart a carton of grapes around one time. I was like, can't put these in my bag because they're gonna get all over my paper. Drink consistently and well. See above for places to get beverages. Bring a reusable water bottle, refill it before every round, and then try to drink at least 6 refills a day. Maybe this is the sort of advice that causes like toilet paper shortages, but dehydration will negatively impact your brain and your voice. If you're not drinking enough water, you won't be able to think or speak as well as you would like to. And especially in the summer, this is like something to be cognizant of. Then don't drink energy drinks. Ideally, you should be getting enough sleep that caffeine is just not something that you need to think about because caffeine can contribute to anxiety, which you do not need more of. And if you really, really need caffeine, drink like a little bit of coffee or green tea, but only after you've eaten a full breakfast and only after you've been up for a few hours, because this lets your body produce cortisol naturally. And drinking caffeine on an empty stomach can really fuck up your digestive system, and you don't want to be dealing with that in the middle of rounds. And then don't drink caffeine past 5 o'clock p.m. Like there's not really any reason for you to be doing that. Um, if you have not case filed on something by like the beginning of day one, you're just not going to case file on it. Don't freak out about that sort of thing and think, I have to like pull an all-nighter to learn everything about central banks. Um, cool. And then know your limits regarding alcohol, specifically because this is not something that just affects you. This can be something that affects everyone else in the contingent who has to put up with you. Obviously, your mileage varies here. If you have high expectations for Euros and you really, really want to do well, I would recommend drinking like maximum one drink a night, if that, because alcohol will dehydrate you and it will give you a hangover, and you won't be able to focus or debate as well as you would like to if you have a hangover. It's also something that will interfere with your sleeping schedule. If you drink alcohol, you will not sleep like you will not sleep as long as you would if you did not drink the alcohol. And you want to be very well rested, see above. If your expectations for the competition are slightly lower, so if you're here because you're like a novice and you're here to learn and you have sat down with your partner and been like, okay, we're probably not going to break, um, then I think it's fine to have a couple of glasses, but don't go crazy and like please be reasonable, both for yourself because you don't want to be debating on a hangover ever. It's like literally, well, not literally the worst thing in the world. It's not like getting tortured, right? But like it's bad. Um, and then also don't put yourself in a position where you are the person who is falling over at the social and the entire delegation has to take care of you because like that puts quite a lot of undue stress on people who are already quite stressed, and it's just not cool. Like don't be that person, basically. And then don't do things that are illegal, like drugs, but also violence and other things like that. You are in a foreign country, you don't speak the language, you don't know the laws, and you don't have health insurance. Um, and most of the time, you'll be surrounded by strangers who are not super concerned about your well-being. This is mostly about drugs, just because I have had to take care of people who have consumed some drugs or some substances that were laced with things at majors before, and it wasn't a fun experience for me, and I'm very, very sure it was not a fun experience for the people in question. So don't don't do that. It's not worth it. If you are interested in that, do it in a place where it is legal to do so and where you can do that safely. A country where drugs are illegal is not the place to experiment. Mental survival. Part one. This is the longest part because debating is more mental than it is physical. Um, Majors can be fun, but they can also be quite overwhelming. They can be stressful. They can drain you emotionally. This is broadly a list of strategies to help mitigate mental and emotional exhaustion. Big caveat at the top of this, that is, this may apply to you, this may not apply to you. Think about how this advice relates to you. This is not a catch-all. So the first thing, and I do actually, immediately after saying that disclaimer, I do think everyone should do this. Um, Talk to your partner in advance of the competition. Um, Set some time aside from like the prep calendar and from doing competitions to have a serious discussion about what you expect from each other during the competition, what you expect of yourself, what your goals are, so on and so forth. Be honest, be vulnerable. This isn't the place to lie to your partner and be like, yeah, I don't want to break. I'm really, really cool. And I'm the sort of person who does not want to break because I'm so cool and don't care about debating. If you are like secretly a person who really cares and will like cry if they don't break, um, like you're going to be doing 9 rounds of debating an entire prep season with this person. I would hope that you are able to be honest about your expectations around them. Um, if you have any needs, like any sensory needs, physical needs, emotional needs, this is the time to communicate those to your partner. And then don't leave the important conversations like, don't say the word back tab around me. Don't whisper to me during rounds. Don't drink 9 cups of yaka the night before day 3 until those conversations have passed. If you do not know what yaka is, it is a beverage that is made with alcohol and lemons and sugar, and it will do things to your body. Bad ones that you should avoid, as per the previous slide. This sort of thing will save you quite a lot of stress to walk into a major with a lot of the potential issues ironed out. Because, like, this is a sort of thing where it feels really silly to sit down and talk about it in the moment and be like, hey, please don't get shit faced the night before. But I've seen a lot of people get into big fights with their partner because they've not had this expectation, not communicated it to their partner. The partner has not considered how their behavior might impact their partner. And then like people blow up over things that are really small and probably could have been solved by a 10-minute conversation. The next thing is be kind to your partner. Really soppy, wholesome advice. Hopefully, you like your partner well enough that this is not an issue. But if any week is the week to make an extra effort, this is the week to just like show your partner a little extra love. If the two of you tease each other a lot, especially about how intelligent you are, this is definitely the week to cut down on that. If there's like a small issue or they do something really small that annoys you but isn't that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things, don't escalate it into a fight. Try to respect their boundaries. If you don't apologize, tell them politely if they're not respecting your boundaries. Do like nice little things for them to make them smile. Like I put my partner's favorite dog on the cover of a case file one time to make her smile. Like listen to them if they're having a rough time because like sometimes there will be rounds and you'll walk out and be like, oh my God, that was the worst. That was the worst thing ever. And it's important that you guys be there for each other at that time. This is a big one. Don't undermine your partner. Do not talk shit about your partner to other people. This is like don't do that. Don't do this because your partner will hear and this will impact them during the competition. Like again, hopefully this isn't something that you are doing, but if you are doing it, first of all, you should stop like now. Second of all, you should find an outlet for that, whether it's talking to them, talking to your coach that is not like directly crapping on your partner's abilities or like their who they are. And then you should also definitely not do this at Euros because what you don't realize is that people perceive the two of you as a team. Um, if you're mean about your partner, people will automatically think like, okay, well, that team is dead in the water after any round because realistically, their communication is absolute dog and they're like not going to be running the same case or like they'll have a bunch of disagreements and underbake the case as a consequence. But yeah, it's like praise them for one thing that they do well after every round. Oftentimes people will go immediately, like after a round, they'll go into like immediately into the feedback, immediately into the debrief, and it's important to like pick out one thing that your partner did well that you're happy that they did. Um, you can find something. It's not hard to be nice, and it will make the difference for your team dynamic. Minimize the amount of choices you have to make every morning. This is a really like hoo-hoo one, but I stand by it. Plan out your outfits in advance while you pack. Eat the same breakfast, snack, and meal every day if that's something that you're able to do. Do the same warm-up drill every morning. Like get into a little routine. If you limit the amount of choices that you have to make every day, you'll spend less time worrying about those decisions and you can focus on something else. Um, Because during points in time where you're going to be really stressed and there's a lot of things happening and you're sharing a room with like 46 people or whatever, um, it's very easy for things that are quite small to feel like the end of the world. And they're not. And you don't want them to feel like the end of the world. Um, so trying to take some of those choices out of the day is, in my opinion, and also in the opinion of Steve Jobs, um, like useful. Next thing is to warm up every morning. Um, I live by the maxim that your best speech is never going to be your first speech of the day. Um, Arrive early to the venue if you can. If not, do this in the hotel room. After check-in, find like a quiet space. Do at least a prep time at minimum. Maximum, you should do a speech. If you have time, I would highly recommend doing a speech. If you're part speech, if you're a first speaker, if you're a second speaker, either like taking notes on the gaps in your partner's speech as they're giving it, or giving 7 minutes of rebuttal afterwards, something that just warms up your brain. This means that you're already ahead of most of the other teams in the first round of the day. I find that oftentimes when you're like after 3 debates, I always feel like I can do another debate. Let's go. My brain's like oiled. Um, and it's easier to do another debate once you've already done one, but it's hard to do that first round. So just getting over the mental barrier of like, I'm going to sit down and do a prep time is quite useful. Stay out of drama, and the corollary to this, do not start drama. Um, it's me following the drink well advice. So what I mean by this is not that there is always drama at Euros, because there are years where there's no drama, there are years where there's like medium drama, there are years where there's high drama, and the whole thing is kind of crazy. I don't know which one Copenhagen's going to be. Hopefully it's chill. And you have a part to play in that. And your part to play in that is don't be the person who starts something, right? Like don't if you are madly in love with someone on the contingent, or if you hate someone on the contingent, or if you are going to break up with someone on the contingent, like maybe don't do it. Like maybe don't raise that this week. Like whatever, like genuinely whatever is happening, you can wait 1 week to raise that issue or to talk about that. Don't like Euros is just genuinely not the time. Everyone is stressed out. Everyone is like really anxious about what the next round's going to be, how they're doing, so on and so forth, and you don't need to add another stressor to that. And then when I say stay out of drama, I will caveat this with a very big grain of salt, which is don't do this in a way that is mean or unnecessarily cruel. E.g., if someone is clearly in a life-threatening situation, or they're in serious danger, or going to cause harm to themselves or others, then like maybe think about intervening in that, or at least calling up the equity officer and being like, hey, someone's at risk here. Make sure that you have the equity officer's contact detail on hand. But like in general, if there is something big boiling over, like say someone's like gotten into a fight with someone else within the contingent, or just generally in the wider world of debating, and they're walking around like trying to get people to back them in the fight or something like that, just like don't engage. You have enough to be worrying about. You have enough to be worrying about. Especially don't do this if this just isn't someone who you know, or isn't someone who you regularly talk to and is like someone who is for all intents and purposes peripheral in your life. Like if something is happening to your friend, definitely comfort your friend. But like if someone kind of random or who you don't really talk to is like, my life is falling apart, like that's realistically, they have other people to talk to. Again, this isn't an excuse to be mean. This is more so just a reminder that you don't have to be the person who solves everything. But similarly, you also should not be the person who causes problems for other people. Um, just try and be unbothered. That's, yeah, that's big advice here. Part two, once the round is over, and there's like genuinely nothing you can do to change that. Um, because as soon as the round is over, like your feedback, not feedback, your feedback if you're a judge, but your score has already been submitted to the tab and it is being used to like generate the draw. There's like bar hacking into the draw. There's, which I don't recommend, don't do that. There's genuinely nothing you can do to change the outcome of that round. So get feedback from the chair, debrief with your partner for 10 minutes maximum, like genuinely set a timer. The debrief should not take longer than 10 minutes. Um, about what to improve on for the next round and then move on. Some people like to throw their notes in the bin because symbolically it's like not my problem anymore. I'm sentimental, so I have a stack of notes from like first year in my room. Um, and then, yeah, just think about the next round like a new opportunity. You don't want to waste an opportunity to get 3 points by spending prep time or the time in the round or the time between rounds when you're meant to decompress, worrying about something that's just no longer in within your control. Next piece of advice. Do not talk to anybody that you don't like for more than 5 minutes. Another caveat, don't be mean about this, obviously. Um, but also don't tolerate people who are mean to you or people who you don't like for longer than you have to, literally just because it will keep you sane. Um, it's very easy to escape social situations at majors because there's genuinely so much going on at any given point in time that like you can say anything and it will get you out of talking to someone who you don't want to be talking to. Um, Useful excuses that I have tried and tested include I need to go to the bathroom. I need to refill my water bottle. I need to find my partner. I need to check in with a friend. I need to ask a judge for feedback. I need some alone time. These also work, to be fair, if you are talking to someone who's perfectly pleasant and very, very nice, but you are just not in the headspace to be talking to someone. Or if you were talking to someone who is nice and like genuinely need to do one of these things. Because I'm now realizing as I'm saying this that this might make me look like I was actually really mean to anyone who I told any of these things to in a major. Um, but yeah, like there's no need to subject yourself to a situation that is unpleasant. And then separately, don't be mean to anyone in the contingent, regardless of any rivalries that have developed during the prep season. Um, it is in the Irish circuit's best interest for as many Irish teams as possible to break. This is because it makes the circuit more competitive, it makes the circuit more prestigious, it means that our institutions can keep fielding multiple teams to each major, which is in turn important for novice development, so they can go to a major and like experience that early on as opposed to only getting to experience that in their last 2 years of college. Um, it means that stronger teams come to our local competitions because they want to compete against the historically very good teams that that the island has produced. So there's more communal benefits that I can talk about, e.g., people who are able to attract good CAs for our competitions, people who are well placed to give workshops, so on and so forth. But generally, like just be nice to the contingent this week. Have each other's backs. Like, don't go watch out rounds. Go like cheer for people who are in the contingent. Like clap for them really loudly. Um, just don't be mean. This is not the week to be mean. Is the through line for a lot of this advice. And then just don't be mean to anyone. After each round of Euros, there's generally a little huddle outside the room once adjudication begins, where all the teams shake each other's hands and tell each other good job. Occasionally, if you think you've done something wrong, people will apologize to each other. Sometimes people will be nice to each other and compliment each other, but like engage in this, right? Like be sportsmanlike, be nice to the other teams. Um, don't be mean to them immediately after the round, even if they were kind of mean to you, or even if they were like not pleasant to debate against. If they did something seriously crazy, go talk to the equity officer. But in general, like if they were just being mean in that they were talking loudly and saying your argument was not functional, like, you know. Um, but generally, a golden rule is to not say anything mean about debaters until you are not surrounded by debaters. So many people will just gossip in bathrooms or gossip in the venue or like where literally anybody could hear them. And I can't reiterate how stupid of an idea this is because debating is massive and often connected in a way that you don't think it is. Not to psych you guys out, right? Like, not to say that like everyone is like in the Illuminati and is like united in conspiracy against you, but more so that sometimes you don't fully know who's friends with who because a lot of the connections that people make will be online when they like chat through spar chats or meet each other at online competitions or something like that. And you never know who could overhear something and then pass it on to the wrong person. And you don't want to be hearing this from the equity officer who is like come up to you to say, hey, you said something horrible about this other debater. So if you really, really need to vent about someone being mean to you, um, either go talk to the equity officer if it is serious enough to warrant that, if you are letting out stress or complaining about someone, or I don't recommend this, but like if you are going to go call someone stupid, wait until you are back in your room in a cab, far away from the venue, and just like out of earshot of anyone who could hear that, whose connections you don't know. Um, so yeah, then bring along, oh, yeah, if people are short with you, don't take it personally. I think that debaters in general have not amazing PR, and I think that there are some conceptions that people have of debaters that's like, ah, this debater's like really, really mean, or this debater's really cold, or debaters in general are rude and mean or whatever. Um, which I don't think is true because a lot of debaters are very nice people. I think that this just gets formed because debaters who you do not know will sometimes appear like they are quite like standoffish or not interested in talking to you. I would not take this personally. This is often just because people are like stressed out after or between rounds. Like if you ask someone like, "Hey, can you hold the door open for me?" and they like hold it open, but their face is not making a happy expression, that's not like them being mean to you. Um, so again, this all falls under the headline of like, don't be mean to people, but if people are a little bit short with you or a little bit like frazzled when they interact with you, it is 90% of the time not something personal. It is often just because people are really stressed out and like not in a situation where they can perform happiness and friendliness as well as you would like them to. But if you like go up to people and talk to them at socials, they're 90% of the time totally fine. Um, and yeah, actually, sorry, speaking of under the headline of like, I forgot to add this to the slides, but under the headline of don't be mean to people, um, the CAs and the equity officers can see what you fill out in feedback. Um, oftentimes, people don't realize this. And like, especially at the novice level, people do not realize that anything that you put in the feedback form will be seen by the tab person, the equity officer, or equity officers, and every single person who is CAing or like setting motions and deciding the judge allocations. And then sometimes people will just submit really mean feedback. I see this happen quite a bit when people submit mean feedback, specifically on CAs, not realizing what a CA is and where a CA can find information, or like what information they are privy to that other people would not be. So, like, if you have something negative to say in feedback, communicate this respectfully and communicate this in a professional way that you would be happy if your mother saw, assuming that your mother is a nice person who also wants you to be nice to other people. Um, don't don't make this a place to be like, this judge is so stupid they couldn't find their way out of a paper bag because like that's not particularly productive to like that sort of feedback is not particularly productive to the CAs to like help them decide what type of round that judge should be judging. But also it's not nice and you can get in trouble with equity for that and people don't realize this. Cool. Part three. Okay, this is like the last part, I promise. Bring some kind of enrichment activity, preferably something that does not involve a screen. It is not like it's not great for your mental health to go from very, very strenuous mental exercise, e.g., debating, and then immediately start going onto like TikTok and seeing what people do with their labubus or something like that. I don't know. I don't have TikTok. Good options include a book, preferably something that is not super like dense or deep, like something that's light and fun and keeps you turning your pages. Bring along a sketchbook, bring along some kind of craft, I'm a big cross-stitch believer myself. Bring along some kind of board game or card game. Um, this is more so if you're someone who recharges when you're like talking to other people or hanging out with other people. Or bring a coloring book. They sell those for adults now, apparently, and they look really fun. So that could be an option. Um, the exact activity just kind of varies from person to person. You know yourselves, find something that you enjoy that doesn't involve a screen or talking to someone and bring it along with you every day that you're competing. Um, this is just because sometimes you need to like not talk to someone, but also be entertained and not be looking at a blank wall. And people have a tendency to go on their phones to do this, and like it's not it's not super productive. The only place where I would say using your phone is a good idea is if your way of decompressing is listening to podcasts or listening to music, in which case, like that's fine. This is me ranting against iPad babies on Maine, I guess. Recharge your social battery when you need to. Majors can often be really draining. I like very distinctly remember at both majors I was at some point becoming cognizant of like, oh my God, I've never been in a room alone this entire weekend, like this entire week. And that's kind of jarring. It's also kind of draining if you have to always be turned on and always be like around other people and like talking to them or making some kind of effort around them. So it's fine if you need to take some time away from the main social scene and just go be by yourself or go be with a small group of people for a while. Um, Pay attention to yourself, take care of your needs, and don't be afraid to like talk to other people about this sort of thing. People tend to be very understanding at majors. Everyone's under some kind of stress. Everyone understands that you need to be alone. No one is going to judge you if you say like, "Hey, great talking to you. Like, really enjoyed it, but unfortunately, I need to go just like decompress for a minute." Because everyone also wants that same grace extended to them. So you'll be fine. Um, More wholesome advice. Try to make a friend. Euros is like genuinely a crazy opportunity when you think about it. You get to go to another place and meet people from universities all over the world who are in the same place at the same time and who are all interested in the same thing, giving you some commonality that you can all talk about. So yeah, like genuinely take advantage of that. That's a crazy opportunity that loads of people never get. Um, like you can meet someone from a part of the world you've never heard about or never been to. You can meet people from other universities and um, learn about the way they teach over there, or learn about like the cultural institutions in their educational institutions. Um, you can sometimes get reading lists off of them if you can find people who go to like top tier universities in other countries, right? Like this is an opportunity that you will realistically not get for quite a while. Um, so do take it and do take advantage of it. And also, it's just really nice to have friends all around the world, or like all around Europe. Sometimes people who are not from Europe come to Euros to judge, or like come to Euros because what's called or come to Euros because they attend a European institution, but they themselves are not from Europe. Hi, right? Like make a friend. People are generally quite friendly. In my experience, debaters have kind of tough shells outside of rounds immediately, but like if you get to chat to them after their round, like being like, hey, like, loved your speech, what's your name? Um, that sort of thing tends to go a long way, especially if you can identify something specific in their speech that they did. Or talk about something that is not debating. It's actually really easy to make friends with debaters if you don't talk about debating. Because a lot of debaters are secretly kind of sick of only talking about debating and only thinking about debating during Euros. So, like, I don't know. You know yourselves. I'm not going to provide social scripts for you because mine are weird. Um, and yeah, last thing under mental survival, do not look at the back tab. Like, as far as you are concerned, the back tab does not exist. The back tab, for those of you who do not know what the back tab is a massive spreadsheet basically that tries to estimate who is and who isn't live for the break e.g., mathematically, who is still able to break, who is still not able to, well, who is just not able to break. Um, the reason I'm saying this is because every year the back tab is out, and every year people kind of freak out about the back tab and like look at it even though they think they're not supposed to, or so on and so forth. Um, and I am here to tell you that the back tab is not perfect. It often gets things wrong. There are sometimes weird pull-ups or pull-downs that will complicate its ability to accurately tell you how well you're doing. And people interpret the numbers and the data quite differently. Every year there's also like this separate competition where like three different factions will all be backtabbing, and all three factions will be like, no, my backtab's the best. And like all three factions will have completely different results. So just avoid it. If you think you're doing badly, the absolute last thing that you want is to see a spreadsheet that confirms your worst fears. If you're doing well, the chances that you have already broken are not high. This is true of like maybe like 8 teams, maybe, and I think that's being quite generous. And you will undoubtedly worry about your break position and the amount of teams in the room that you need to beat. If you're the sort of person who is not impacted by the back tab, they exist somehow. Don't Again, don't be mean. Don't show it to anyone without being explicitly asked to do so. Like, unless someone walks up to you and is like, I would like to see the back tab, do not offer to show it to them or do not mention it around them. It's like, let them live in their world where the back tab isn't real. It's quite stressful finding out about the back tab when you really don't need to see it. Cool, 1 second. Mm. It's very warm in my room. Outrun survival. So, this is a segment that is here to serve two purposes. Um, if you're here to mentally prepare yourself for the possibility of outrounds, good luck, everyone. If you are watching this sometime in the future because you broke and don't know what you're about to do, congratulations. This is where it gets intense. Here is a set of tips that are intended to make this feel a lot less intense. Number one, everything else applies. Go out and restock any supplies that you might have consumed during in rounds, things like pens, paper, food, medicine if you need it, like what else? Um, Beverages, supplies, you name it. If it's something that you have burned through your supplies of during in rounds, go out and restock before the out rounds begin. And then make sure that you're still taking care of your body, make sure you're still taking care of your mind. Warm up beforehand, stick to the same routines, treat this like just any other day of in rounds. It is so much easier if you just think to yourself, like, this is another set of in rounds. We're in, we're just doing like spicy in rounds, right? Don't get too in your head about, oh my God, if I don't break to the semifinal, I'm gonna like I will be a failure to my country and my people. The stakes are not as the stakes are high because this is something that you hopefully value, but the stakes are not life or death. So don't do everything possible to deactivate the part of your brain that still thinks it is getting like hunted for sport on the savannah. Um, don't start drinking until after the break is announced. This happened to my buddy one time. Um, a lot of people will get to break night and start drinking immediately. And regardless of how you feel about your performance, this is never a good idea. Because if you've done well, you don't want to find this out 6 drinks in and realize that you were so screwed because you have a hangover the next day. This happened to my friend. It was not good. Um, and then if you've done badly, you don't want to find this out 6 drinks in and then start loudly sobbing on the dance floor and kind of embarrassing yourself. But also because alcohol will amplify your emotions in the moment. And then afterwards, I don't know what the exact process of this is, but it will leave you more anxious the day after. Um, I believe this is referred to as the fear. You do not want to have that the next day. More than any other night of the competition, break night is the night to limit yourself to 1 drink if you drink at all. After the break is announced, like maybe you can start drinking if you haven't broken and you don't really care. If you have broken, I would recommend continuing to not drink. Next thing, leave break night as soon as possible. Also applies whether or not you've broken. Something every single year happens where immediately after the break is announced, the vibe shifts, right? Like before the break is announced, everyone's like trying to dance away the stress. Everyone's still kind of hopeful because a lot of people are still like, ooh, I could break. I don't know. So exciting. And then after the break is announced, a lot of people's hopes get dashed. And a lot of them will be drunk. A lot of them are usually emotionally less than stable. And they've been given either very good news or very bad news. And they will have strong reactions to this news. Um, like you'll get a lot of crying on this night. You'll get a lot of people confronting each other. A lot of people getting into fights because they're like, screw you. If you hadn't have given me a fourth this round, we would have broken. People will consume a lot of alcohol. People will consume drugs if they're able to access them. Um, I think that in general, you're simply better off not engaging and just going home and getting some rest for the night. This isn't to say that you can't have fun during break night. It's more so to say that break night creates like this little cocktail where lots of people are put in the perfect position to just go crazy. Um, Stay for like half an hour or so, congratulate your friends, congratulate people from the contingent who have broken, have a little celebratory dance with your partner, regardless of whether or not you've broken. Just be like, woo, we made it this far, and then just get out because you really, really don't want to be stuck in that situation longer than you need to. Warm up, especially if you have broken protected. See above for reasons why you should be warming up in general. But it's especially important to warm up if you are in the lucky position where you have broken protected, which means that you've broken directly to like a quarterfinal or a semifinal or whatever. Every year they have like, not every year, some years they have partial, double, whatevers. Um, and those are the ones that need to fight it out. But yeah, you don't want to be in a situation where two of the teams in your round are already warmed up and ready to go, and you want to put yourself in the best position possible going into the round. The next thing, and this is like the rare debating advice here, um, don't overcomplicate things. The best strategy for out rounds is just do things simply, do things cleanly, and focus on doing the basics very, very well and treating this like just another in round. Um, a lot of people, when they see an audience, will feel the urge to show off or try and like run really, really complicated cases or make a lot of jokes because they're like, I gotta flex. And this is usually not a good strategy. Um, but it's easy to forget that when you're riding the high of having broken and you look up and you're like, whoa, so many people have come to see me. If you're in top half, run the obvious OG or OO, weigh it well, don't try and make an edge case win from top half. And then once you've run the obvious case well, then start burning the edge cases. If you're in back half, make sure that you are not derivative because this means you're easy to write off in adjudication, especially if you're not a team that has an established reputation. And remember to explain why your extension is important. Generally, like good advice for an extension is if you can't summarize it in a line, you shouldn't be running that extension. Like if your extension is something that you could not explain to like a random person in a bar why it beats the top half, it's probably not worth running. And then, oh, last piece of advice, you only need to beat two teams. In every out round, there's one team that is like very obviously winning, one team that is like very obviously losing, and then there's two teams in contention for the second. So like try not to be the team that's losing. If you're the team that's winning, good job. Um, Otherwise, and assuming that you are one of the two teams in contention, there's only one team that you need to beat to go through. So focus on trying to beat that team rather than reminding everyone that the team that is losing is in fact losing, or trying to like spend the majority of your speech trying to obliterate the team that's clearly winning. Disclaimer, this does not apply to the final. If you are in the final, you should try and win. Um, Last piece of advice. I did not put this on the slideshow, but it is in my notes I've been working off of for this. Get out of the venue as soon as your out round is over. Once everyone's left the room, the speculation starts, and it's very hard to avoid it because there's lots of competing opinions, and not every single person is going to have you going through. And like you just won't know for at least an hour, and that's being very, very ambitious. Being surrounded by lots of discussions about the round is not great for your stress levels. So unless you're the sort of person who really thrives on speculation, just get out of there. Walk around in the emptier sections of the venue, There are usually empty sections of the venue because a lot of people are like off seeing the sights and experiencing the city during out rounds. Um, Go walk outside the venue, go get food. If you need to blow off some steam and like have or like freaking out about the round, find a trusted friend and go for a walk around the block with them. This is usually a sort of thing that will put the round into perspective, remind you that you've already done well, and make you realize it's just not that deep, right? Like it is fun. Debating is something that you can get a lot out of. And my hope for all of you is that you get to a point where you are able to break or you are able to get as much possible out of the game. But at the end of the day, like if you do not do as well as you wanted to, that is something too that you can come back from. It's not like the end of your life. Um, cool. And the last thing, have fun. This is a fun and rewarding game, but it is still a game. Life goes on, and you'll learn from any negative experiences that you have within debating. Make good decisions, put yourself in the best possible position, both to do well, but also to enjoy it. It's a lot easier to enjoy Euros if you are like not hungover and craving death the whole time. Be nice to your partner, be nice to yourself, and don't get so caught up worrying about your performance that you just don't have a nice time. Um, so yeah, that's everything from me. Managed to go on fewer tangents than I thought I would. Does anyone have any questions while you have me and my undivided attention?
Before people ask questions, I'm going to stop the recording.
Yes, that is a good idea. Bye, recording.